Welcome to The Explainer. So, you ever wonder if there's like a secret formula for viral comedy? Well, today we are cracking open a creative document that says, yes, there absolutely is. We're going to deconstruct this thing called the Accidental Hero Scripting Blueprint and lay out the step-by-step process for basically engineering a comedy hit.
I mean, really think about it. Is it just pure luck? A total roll of the dice? A one-in-a-million shot that you just can't plan for? Or could there actually be a repeatable formula, a real structure that anyone could use to craft a viral hit on purpose?
Well, it turns out there might just be. This is it, the Accidental Hero Scripting Blueprint, and it's exactly what it sounds like, a guide designed from the ground up to generate viral comedy. It's a formula for creating those fast-paced, modern, super shareable sketches you see everywhere. So let's break it down.
Okay, so the absolute first step, the very foundation of this entire thing, is all about building the right kind of character. It all, and I mean all, starts with the protagonist.
And this protagonist has a name, the Accidental Hero. Now, this is not your typical hero, okay? They don't save the day with smarts or courage. No, this character becomes a hero completely and utterly by mistake. Their success is a direct result of them just bumbling through a series of hilarious failures.
And the blueprint gets super specific here. It says this character has to be built on two core traits that are completely at odds with each other. On one hand, they are just profoundly lazy, always looking for the easiest possible way out. But on the other hand, they are wildly overconfident. They genuinely believe they are the smartest person in any room. And it's that clash, right? The laziness versus the overconfidence. That's the engine that creates all the comedy.
All right, so now that we've got our perfectly flawed hero, we need a story to drop them into. The blueprint calls the plot structure the engine of the sketch, and it's designed for one thing and one thing only: constant, non-stop escalation.
So the story follows this really clear 5-step path. It always kicks off with a tiny, relatable mistake, like trying to secretly fix a wobbly table at a fancy restaurant. But that little mistake immediately starts to escalate. Our hero, fueled by that lazy overconfidence, tries to fix it and just makes things a million times worse. That's when public chaos erupts. And then, right at the peak of all that mayhem, they somehow stumble into an accidental win.
Now, to keep this engine running at full blast, the blueprint has a golden rule for pacing. You must throw in an unexpected twist, a brand new problem, a new complication, every 30 to 40 seconds. This is absolutely key for keeping a modern audience glued to the screen. And you can see how this works perfectly in a 2-minute sketch. You start with a strong hook right away. Then, bam, at the 40-second mark, the first big twist lands. A minute 20 in, boom, the second twist hits, which rockets the story towards its climax right at the 2-minute mark. It's just relentless, in the best way possible.
So we've got our character and our plot. The next part of the blueprint is all about the polish. Think of it as a toolkit packed with specific comedic techniques to make sure the script is actually funny from one moment to the next.
This blueprint calls for a mix of 3 main humor styles. First up, situational comedy. The humor just comes from how absurd the situation itself is. Second, exaggeration, where characters have reactions that are just way over the top. And third, reaction humor. This is all about focusing on the priceless faces of the people just watching the chaos go down.
And here's a great little pro tip right from the blueprint. For any running jokes you have, the magic number is 3. You introduce the gag once, bring it back a second time in a totally new way, and then you deliver that final, super satisfying payoff right near the end.
And get this isn't just about the writing. The whole approach demands a cinematic feel. And as this chart shows, you get there with stuff like really punchy camera work. Think dramatic zooms and close-ups, plus clever sound design with funny effects, and sharp little music cues that just amplify the comedy of a moment.
Finally, we get to the landing. The blueprint is crystal clear on this. A great setup is totally worthless without a great payoff. How you end the story is every bit as important as how you start it. And yep, it's got its own formula for that too.
So, a truly satisfying ending needs 3 key things. First, the hero has to get that accidental success we talked about. Second, the way the chaos finally gets resolved has to be hilarious on its own. And third, you need a clever callback to an earlier joke. That's usually where you pay off that running gag.
And here's the final touch, my favorite part. A direct quote, end with a hilarious but satisfying ending, plus a moral joke line. This is like the cherry on top. The very last thing the audience hears should be a funny, totally absurd takeaway that pretends to be some deep life lesson learned from all the madness.
So what's the big point here? What does this all boil down to? Well, while you still need creativity, this whole blueprint shows that viral comedy isn't just magic. It's not just luck. It can actually be engineered. It's a formula built on character, structure, and proven comedy tools.
Which kind of leaves us with one last thought, right? We've just deconstructed the formula for viral comedy. But what about everything else? You know, from horror movies to pop songs to romance novels, what other secret formulas are just sitting out there, waiting to be explained?